and Environmental Affairs can help increase the tourism sector's contribution to the country's gross domestic product. The chairperson of the Pan-African Parliament in Eswatini, Robert Magongo, has been re-elected as the Pan-African Parliament Southern Caucasus Region Rapporteur. The news. His Majesty King Mswati III and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Singapore have agreed to step up bilateral ties between Eswatini and Singapore. His Majesty and the Prime Minister held wide-ranging talks on Thursday, where the two leaders pledged to step up relations between the two nations.
His Majesty the King met Prime Minister Ling Hsien Loong at the official residence of the President of the Republic of Singapore. In a statement released by the Office of the Prime Minister expressed his delight with the bilateral engagement with His Majesty the King. His Majesty and the Prime Minister had robust discussions about bolstering ties between Eswatini and Singapore. The two leaders further exchanged views on regional development and identified areas where the two nations can cross-pollinate ideas with a view to further deepen bilateral cooperation. His Majesty the King, who is currently in Singapore on a working visit, accompanied by Inkosikazi Magalafogiane, last visited the Republic of Singapore 6 years ago. On the news, I am Sandile Makanya reporting in Singapore.
The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilakazi, says events such as the Eswatini Motorsports Weekend can help increase the tourism sector's contribution to the country's gross domestic product, GDP. The minister said the riders ranch during the final preparations of the Eswatini Motorsports Weekend.
This weekend marks the beginning of the Eswatini Motorsport Weekend, which will now be an annual event. The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilakazi, has on Friday visited the Riders Ranch at Sitfogodvo, where the event will be held for the final preparations of the weekend. The minister says such events can help the tourism sector upscale its contribution to the country's gross domestic product, or GDP, to at least 11%.
Ngoba sithena sisuka ku COVID ngoba iCovid beyisilimete kakhulu kulete kuvakasha sathi cishe ngeliviki kufuna kube khona lokwentekako even namhla ke siyabonga nje kakhulu ngokuthi sekuthi lo umsebenzi lona itolo bowukhange abantu labangetulu kwa 4000 lesibuka ke ukuthi nasitawuthola ngetulu kwalabo utawusho ukuthi tourism tiyembili noma sesingathola yena lo 4000 ngoba lokuthi bantu bedele kutongcebeleka batobuka timoto tispina batobuka timoto tigijima batobuka timoto tabonhlobonhlobo.
Founder of the Eswatini Motorsport Weekend, Sandile Mnyendi, says this event also aims at providing job opportunities for eMaswati.
Kulo mcimbi loku banengi siyawathola ema-calls bantu labatawusitakala kule event, especially nabantu labatendela ngetandla tabo, especially nawo lababenta bo-chicken dust, nawo labathengisa timpahla lebaticupha ngale emaveni. Siyabonga ukuthi lento lesiyenda akasitendeli thina, wonke umuntu ufuna a-benefit.
The event will be held in partnership with motorsport fanatics from the Kingdom of Eswatini, Mozambique and the Republic of South Africa. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkesiwe Koza at Sitfokoto.
Government says the Maswati should avoid to be guilty either by association or by abetting activities which seek to undermine peace and security in the kingdom. Government has said this through a statement issued by its spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo, who says it is not in the best interest of the people to be seen in association or in support of entities and individuals who have openly incited and encouraged violence and murderous attacks on members of the public, security forces members and private as well as public infrastructure. Government says that some of these people have chosen the path of advertorial and atrocious politics in the place of the politics of engagement. Government also says evidence of this is all out there in various social media platforms. Government remains confident that the nation in its entirety will continue to exercise discretion, collective intelligence and responsibility in choosing who to follow and interact with in the boundless and unrestricted world of social media. The acting principal secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Anthony Masilela, says more than 115 disabled people have applied for the vocational training program following an invitation by the ministry. Masilela has explained that today was the deadline for applying.
The acting principal secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security says the objective for this training is to afford all people, including those that are living with disabilities, equal opportunities. Masilela said some of the subjects that are part of the curriculum includes IT, arts, commercials, and others.
As a Ministry of Labour and Social Security, we have extended applications to all the 59 Tingundla centers where we have received an overwhelming 115 applications so far, and we are still to sit down and try to analyze and then see to it that on the 3rd of August, we wish that those who have been successful will be starting their lessons. That is on the 3rd of August this very year.
Masilela went on to say that classes will commence on the 3rd of August 2022. Reporting for Eswatini News is Nonjabulo Makakola with Vocational Babani.
A consultant for the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development, Nomsa Dlamini, says many young people in Eswatini are stressed about being jobless, thus their anger. Dlamini said this during the ministry's National Development Plan Validation Workshop, where participants discussed the improvement of the livelihoods of Amaswati. The workshop was held at the Spine Lodge, Matsapa.
The Ministry of Economic Planning held the National Development Plan Validation aimed at looking at ways to improve the livelihood of Amaswati. This was during the meeting with government departments and stakeholders. Currently, the economic growth is growing at 2%, which is not the desired level. This was disclosed by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Tabile Mlangeni, who was represented by Sipiwe Sibanze.
At the present moment, the economic growth is not at the desired level, growing on an average of 2%. The desired level is 5%, a level that would be sufficient to adequately address the issues of employment, education, health, supporting the vulnerable groups, and also improving the general standards of living to be better than what it is currently.
Namsa Dlamini, the consultant, says the youth unemployment rate is very high, making them an angry generation, an issue that needs to be addressed.
You can't be surprised because yeni bantu labasha bakwatela abakhona ithola umsebenzi from 47% to 58%, and labanengi bethu sinele sesikhulile abantwana bethu netitifiketi tabo bahlele emakhaya. Bophoya umasebenzisa statistics za 2017, it's about 59%.
She says the private sector feels squeezed because government is the biggest employer and player in business. Government says she is committed to the turnaround of the economy as well as improving the environment of the private sector, development and the people's lives. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msebu, Tando Mdluli, Matsapa.
The Eswatini National Youth Council CEO Makosami Dlamini says they will soon launch the Accelerated Funding Program for the Youth in Business. Dlamini was unpacking the Mindset Change Program.
The government of Eswatini has always looked at ways to improve the lives of the young people in Eswatini through the Eswatini National Youth Council, which is currently in the process of reviewing the Mindset Change program, which aims at changing the way young people think. The NYC CEO Makosa Dlamini says there is a lot in store to improve the lives of young people in Eswatini.
We have an opportunity where we've received some form of funding where we are focusing on youth entrepreneurs that will already be in some form of business. Ours is to sort of like give that small business a nudge in the right direction. For instance, if it's a group of young people probably that are doing something at a small scale, for instance, it's a small car wash, as you know, we have quite a number of young people in so many communities in this country that have ventured into the project of car wash. And probably if we observe, we find that they are only maybe requiring certain utensils or certain equipment that will actually increase their production in terms of the vehicles that they wash per day. So ours is to observe those kind of businesses to say, how then do we ensure if, for instance, they need a pressure pump to increase the volume of water that is required to wash per vehicle. So those are sort of those small programs. If it's a young person who's in the fashion industry or dressmaking industry, we often receive so many requests in the office for machines, overlock machines and things like that. We are not saying it is something that is going to be seriously in terms of funding that is going to be big, but we are going to look at what is basic for that business in terms of it being able to increase production and the levels of income.
The 2020 Eswatini National Youth Policy reveals that young people between 35 years and below forms about 70% of the population and are mostly jobless. The 2021 Labour Force Survey reveals that the rate of unemployment in Eswatini currently stands at 33.3%, whilst the youth alone stands at 58.2%. The Eswatini National Youth Council aims to assist young people to get jobs and improve their lives. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB with Nelson Wendlangamandla in Mbongwatube, Manzini.
The chairperson of the Pan-African Parliament in Eswatini, Robert Magongo, has been re-elected as the Pan-African Parliament Southern Caucasus Region Rapporteur. The elections were held yesterday evening in Midrand, South Africa.
Magongo has been re-elected to the position of Rapporteur for the Southern Caucasus region in the Pan-African Parliament. Magongo will hold this position for a period of 3 years. Magongo's election was unopposed. About 50 MPs from 10 African countries voted for him.
Gender violence,
Magongo says he will also consult with the Parliament of Eswatini about critical matters affecting the country, which need to be addressed in the Pan-African Parliament. For Eswatini TV, I'm Thandokuhle Mdluli. Pictures sourced from the African Union website.
Officers of the Master of the High Court are engaged in a workshop where they are being educated on customer care and different legislations that govern their duties. Acting Registrar of the Supreme Court, Siphiwo Masuku, says they are doing this as a response to concerns raised by the public. The workshop was held at Royal Villas, Eswatini.
The Master's Office, which serves the public in respect of the deceased estates, liquidations, registration of trust, tutors and curators, as well as the administration of the Guardians Fund, held a meeting to train the officers on the issues of the Administration of Estate Act in the Master's Office, Companies Act and the Distribution and Liquidation Account. The acting registrar of the Master's Office, Siphiwo Masuku, says the meeting will also equip the officers on customer care and sort all problems that members of the public have been complaining about.
We find it very important that in as much as you might have your legal background, you still need to be trained. We are very hopeful that at the end of this training, the officers of the judiciary or the officers of the master will be able to be equipped and will be able to solve all of the issues that might be coming up members of the public have been complaining about treatment in the different offices, government offices, the master's office included. And we find it important that we all be trained on issues of customer care, as we might know that these are not issues that we might have been trained on at university level. So we are very hopeful that at the end of this training, we'll be able to go back to our offices and we'll be able to apply whatever it is that we would have learned from here.
Masuku then ended by encouraging all members of the public to freely visit the office whenever they need help, especially on issues of orderly winding up of the financial affairs of the deceased. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Nofundo Makakula with Nonjabulo Makakula and Samgasiwe Koza Zulwini.
WaterAid Eswatini has established a water project worth 3.2 million amalangeni at the Malinza Refugee Reception Center. WaterAid Eswatini Country Director Ncamiso Mhlanga says the project will also contribute to menstrual hygiene amongst adolescent girls at the center.
To further ensure welfare for refugees in the Kingdom of Eswatini, WaterAid, which is an international organization that focuses on water, sanitation and hygiene, has established a water project at the Malinza Refugee Reception Center. WaterAid has allocated a sum of 3.2 million amalangeni for this project, which will also benefit over 3,000 Malinza residents.
This water is not only for the facilities, but also for agricultural purposes, so that the refugees can be able to grow vegetables and sell. The project will also look at aspects of sanitation, because one of the things we realized when we were doing the scoping of this project was that the facilities at the refugee camp lacks things such as electricity. The toilets are dark at night. So that poses risk and poses social security issues around girls and women, especially when they are going to access such facilities when they are dark at night. So what we are going to do, we're going to improve the lighting in those facilities and construct other toilets. Also, there are washing areas there that will be constructing so that the people have got proper washing basins and a proper area for their washing.
WaterAid Eswatini Country Director Ncamiso Mhlanga says the project will also improve menstrual hygiene, especially amongst the adolescent girls in the center.
So what we are going to do, we will be training them on how to make their own pads that could be washable, and also support them in terms of how they can make sure that when the time for menstruation comes, they are able to actually look after themselves.
WaterAid Eswatini has so far provided over 150,000 Maswati with clean water, especially in schools, clinics and communities. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samgasiwe Koza at Ezulwini.
Sign language graduates say it is important for everyone, in particular those in civil service, to at least have someone who understands sign language in order to assist the deaf whenever they seek government services. About 38 sign language students graduated at the Sign Language College on Friday. The event was held at the George Hotel in Manzini.
38 graduates who had enrolled in the Sign Language College graduated in Sign Language Studies. Knowing sign language helps to bridge the gap between people with disabilities, especially those of the deaf society, and people without disabilities. James Dube, the sign language facilitator and director, says it is important to enroll in sign language because it enables one to communicate with people from the deaf society, understands their needs, and help them where the need arises.
Sign language. Ngakuthi sinebantu lesiphila nabo emangweni labadeaf labakhuluma ngetandla. Lokho kwenta lokuthi kumele sibe nesiciniseko ukuthi bayanakekeleka nabo lama service nabo bawathole. So sasiphothulile nje nyalo kuyinjabulo kithi ku achievement ngithi labafundi sebathokhona kusita labantu labadeaf.
Dube says it was a 2-year course, while some extended to as far as level 3. The graduate says there is a need for many to learn sign language, while some say they were motivated to enroll after seeing people from the deaf society struggling to express their feelings. Some are being raped but have difficulty to express what befell them and how they can be assisted because none understands them.
Abantu abakhubatekile ngekungeva nangakhona ukukhuluma la ekhaya abanyendi kakhulu bekunesidingo lesinyenti kakhulu ngeva nami ngathi cha nangingakhona ukukufunzela le sign language esengiyifundzile manje ngingaba ngimunye lo watawudlala inzima la ekhaya.
Etindzaweni letiningi kuma services ethu ngingabekisa esibhedlela makafika umuntu akhala ngokuthi kubuhlungu esifubeni nakamsayinela bhegi lo muntu lo longayifundzile signing angeke aze amuve lusito angeke aze alithole ngaleyo ndlela.
Ngake ngaya emaphoyiseni benginenkinga nje bengicela bangisida ngayo, so kwafika umuntu lo deaf waba nebulukhunyana bangakhona lokumsita kahle, so ngase ngiyabona bumcoka balokufundza lelwimi letandla.
Khona emphakathini lebengihlala kuwo bekunemuntu nje loyi-1 lo muntu loyo beka deaf, so bekayane kuvakasha nakabuyile maybe ubuye esikolweni nakabuyile kuba bede lo muntu lo ngase ucommunicator naye, so nami ngaba like le language ya ngaba like nami yathi nangayifunza lento lena yathi lo muntu nangasitakala and baningi lela bangasitakala.
Over the past years, government trained different officers from different ministries on sign language for people with disabilities to be heard and have access to government services. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB at the George Manzini.
Dear viewers, now take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
At Spar, we've worked hard to get you low prices on great products every day. Like Crossing Blackwell Tangy or Creamy Mayonnaise for only $29.99 and Pampers Baby Dry Nappies or Nappy Pants Jumbo Pack for only $199.99. It's low prices for you every day at Spar.
Welcome to Yes Country for unbeatable deals like a 2,400-litre Jojo water tank for just $1,999 and a 150-litre Ariston heater geyser for only $3,749.99. Hurry! Promo ends 9 July. Only at Build It. Yes, we can.
Dear viewers, now take a look at our financial updates.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. You're still watching Eswatini TV, and for your sports news tonight, Sihlanga Semnegade head coach Dominic Kunene says he will not put pressure on his players to try and achieve more than what they did last year when they finished third in the 2021 COSAFA Cup. Kunene says they will take each game as it comes. Sihlanga's first game will be against Mauritius next week, Wednesday.
The national team, Sihlanga Semnegade, has been in camp for over 2 weeks ahead of their 2022 COSAFA Cup in Durban this year. Team coach Dominic Nene says they'll be taking each game at a time.
No, kwanyalo singeke size sifike lapho because badlali bethu sizabe sesibafaka under unnecessary pressure. Sithi nje thine asisithathe igame ngayinye kutawuthi ke nasekuphelile bese kuyabonakala ukuthi kudlala kwethu kulama games esiwadlalile kusibeka kuphi.
The team's captain, Lindo Mkonda, wants to break a record of becoming the first Leswati captain to lift the trophy.
Lokho kuliphupho lami lelikhulu kakhulu nasibuka nakule COSAFA lesisuka kiyo bese ngibona manje ukuthi naku kwagcina kwalile but ke kusifiso sami kusifiso lesikhulu kakhulu ukuthi vele nangamane kube ngimucala loyiphakamisa kule ngomisha especially leseyikhona nyalo lesemnyango.
Sabelo Nzinisa wants to be written in the history books for COSAFA alongside the likes of Cesar Dlamini and Felix Bedenhorst.
Nami ngeke ngibalekele ukuthi kulawo ma record la tawubala noma kulowo mlandlo otawuhlala ukhona ku national team. Kusiso sami noma kusiso wonke umuntu ukuthi utholakala kulawo mabhuku la kahle kakhulu ukuthi umuntu okhonyene kwenda kangcono eminyakeni lelandzela kona mali edlulile.
Upcoming stars Manga Masangane is one of the youngest stars in the squad.
Ngicathi bangwelcome kahle badlali abadala ngibakhanselana kube bete nje inkinga lengidibene nato bangisekela ngakhona ukuthi ngibambisane nabo coach.
Sihlangu's opening encounter will be against Mauritius at the King Zwelithini Stadium on Wednesday next week. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini, Lubamba.
Minister of Tourism Moses Vilagate says it is great news that the first ever tournament that will feature Eswatini legend and legends and those from other African countries have been launched in the kingdom. Vilakazi was speaking during the official launch of the African Legends Tournament by the African Tourism Board.
Majority of former football stars, also known as legends, have been forgotten after hanging their boots. African Tourism Board has officially launched a tournament that will feature international legends to face local legends. Minister for Tourism Moses Vilakazi says it is exciting to see the tournament being officially launched in the kingdom.
May I take this opportunity to once again extend our sincere gratitude that this will now take off. And it's an honor for me now to officially launch the inaugural Legends Tournament, which will start from this year and will be there on an annual basis. May God bless us all.
Chief Executive Officer of African Tourism Board explained the reason behind the idea.
When they came up with the concept to say, we are Africans, there's only one thing that mixes us and puts us together where we don't fight as Africans. It's only when we play football. And as Africans, we can form one team of footballers, an African Legends team, that we can put together and play against other African legends from their countries. Starting with, obviously, we are lucky having African Tourism Board having their offices here in Eswatini, and we were quick to adopt the idea with them and partner with them and say, let's make it work. So we quickly started on the process of going out to find our local or our African legends. We are lucky that it wasn't very difficult. African legends are still very excited. They are still very fit. They still want to play football, and they still want to showcase their talents.
Legends who were part of the event also expressed their excitement.
We are very happy that it started with us. When people are talking football, they will ask, who is Eswatini? But now I believe they will know who we are.
The fact that me and my brother and a few other legends as well, Caesar Lamine, Iskaratintoa, and just to name a few, the fact that we're able to break the ranks in South Africa and made big names of ourselves, but not only for ourselves, but for this country. I believe that the time will come when this country will conquer the continent.
So it will start here in Swaziland before it goes to other countries. It will start here in our own home soil.
The games are expected to start next month with all international legends to take part of the game. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini, Zulwini.
That is all we had for tonight, but before we wrap up, we'll take a recap of today's headlines. His Majesty King Eswatini III and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Singapore have agreed to step up bilateral ties between Eswatini and Singapore. Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs Moses Vilakazi says such events as the Eswatini Motorsports Weekend can help increase the tourism sector's contribution to the country's gross domestic product. The chairperson of the Pan-African Parliament in Eswatini, Robert Magongo, has been re-elected as the Pan-African Parliament Southern Caucasus Region Rapporteur. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin tonight. Up next is the weather forecast for selected towns. Good night, Eswatini.
Black Friday in June, backed by popular demand. Laduma deals. Get up to 40% off for an extra week, Monday to Sunday. Save $2,000 with the Calvinator White Fridge and the Sadie Kitchen Scheme. Save $3,000 with the Silly Hampton Nights base set. Save $1,500 with the Omega 32-inch TV. Stock is limited. 24 months to pay. No deposit option. Same day delivery. Best is all you need to know.
Sesifikile isikhathi